Thank you, Drew, for setting that up.
Good job.
Coach, thanks for joining us. Dr. Tom, thank you. All right, let's just get right into this. Coach Buddy, you gotta have one of the most complex and busy jobs in all of college sports. And then all of a sudden, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this camera comes into your life. Can you walk us through what you were thinking at the time, your reaction? And
well, obviously I wasn't thinking a lot. No, I mean, I come from Alabama, and I know this is not the answer to the question, but hopefully we'll get to it. I come from Alabama where football was important. It was always important to a lot of different people. It was important to me in my life. And I had the opportunity to go to community college in Mississippi. It's where I met my wife. And we've been married for 28 years now. And, you know, when we came to East Mississippi, it's like anything else, you know. Why can't we be great? Why can't we be great? Why can't the state of Mississippi lead in industry? Why can't we be as good as anybody else? We don't have any flies on us. It's like my grandmother used to say. I got that one from her. We ain't got no flies on us. We can be as good as anybody we want to be as long as we do the right things and we do the things that we need to do to get educated. You know, I think my biggest thing with my guys is to be educated. And I know there's been times that you look back and you know, when we first started this, we said, I knew that we were doing something that was going to put us on the map. I just didn't realize it was going to be so, you know, it was all over the map, you know. And but we were thinking that let's find a way to tell a story and tell our story, and let us be the first to do this, because I promise you there is no one that will ever let another camera crew walk in. I know it's going on now in the third year, but I mean, Nick Saban's not going to let a camera crew come in and film what goes on in their place unedited. But we wanted it to be unedited because it needed to be told. Things need to be told. A lot of people don't. I say this all the time, and I've said this all the time. A lot of people don't like, they love sausage, but they don't want to see how it's made. And so just thinking we want to do something revolutionary. We want to do something that set us apart. And it did.
that's great. Dr. Tom, I guess for all you guys, this show not only put you on the map, it made you guys rock stars, not only here in the U.S., but around the world. I mean, I had a friend who found out about this conference. He spent a long winter on some contract work in Fairbanks, Alaska. He watched both seasons in 2 days. He binge watched it. He told me to tell Coach Buddy that if Nick Saban doesn't watch out, he's going to become the, what did he say? Alabama's going to become the East Mississippi of Division I football. So,
yeah.
Which I thought was the highest compliment to Coach Buddy. But you guys have got fans. What is, as the head of this university, what was that attention like? How did you deal with it? And then I've also heard you talk about not only are you heroes outside the state, but kind of dogs inside the state down in Jackson with some people.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, that's been interesting. Of course, how do you equip yourself to respond to, you know, how things are going to be after that show? That's very difficult. You know, my degrees, I have 3 degrees actually in communication studies, so John and I are kindred spirits, and so, but you don't take classes on how to prepare yourself for this. And it's really pretty amazing. I mean, I knew our brand was going to be out there. I knew we were going to have the opportunity to sell things, and we did. I mean, the statistics on the number of items that we sold online within the first week were just staggering. And then we've actually signed an international a marketing agreement for our apparel to be sold in Europe and the United Kingdom. The first community college in the United States or the world to have that done. In fact, we're right alongside NYU and Notre Dame and Duke and East Mississippi Community College. And you're like, yeah, you know. And, you know, Coach could tell you about it. I'm sure Drew could too. You know, the recognition's crazy. I mean, I didn't even speak in season 1. I just looked concerned over in the corner a few times, you know. And, but for example, I was on the USS Harry S. Truman about a month or so ago, and with a group of dignitaries who were visiting this aircraft carrier off the coast of Florida, about 120 miles. And this is a representative story. And I was introducing myself with the 9 or 10 VIPs, with the captain of the USS Harry S. I mean, there are like 13 of them in the whole world. That guy right there. And he gets to me, and I said, well, I'm Tom Huebner, I'm president of East Mississippi Community College. And he stops, turns sideways a little bit, looks at me, he said, is that by chance Last ChanceU? Yes, sir, I'm president of Last ChanceU. Oh my goodness, unbelievable, I can't believe it. And it turns out that he talks about the show with some of his incoming sailors. He uses it as an example. In fact, what he told me, I don't know if I've told you this, Coach, that he said, do you know the brawl? And I said, sir, I live the brawl. And he said, well, I guess that's right. He said, I talk about the cost of brotherhood. Sometimes having your brother's back has a great cost to it. And he said, I tell the story about the brawl. And I said, that's the best spin on the brawl I've ever heard. That's great. But you get that.
Spin it that way.
Yeah, no. And then, the Consul General for Israel watched it, was a fan, has been to campus. Sitting with the governor of Mississippi, calls me, because they got my phone number somehow, calls me and says, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm speaking to the president of Last ChanceU. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm speaking to the Consul General of Israel, And so it's just that kind of thing. It's been pretty crazy, but all of that to say, it's been a ride, huh, Coach?
Consul General comes to town, and you don't. I'm Googling. What do I say? Is it shalom? Is it hello? Is it howdy? What am I supposed to do?
Oh,
and there are. I'm calling. I called the Consul General, her secretary. I said, "What do I say?" She said, "Hey." I said, "Okay, we're good. We're good."
John, I'm sorry, Steve, you referenced something in the legislature. It's become an interesting battle point. Of course, we were not well received by my colleague institutions, and I don't know what to make of that. But one of the senators from Mississippi here on the floor of the Senate, started in the appropriations meeting, and then on the floor of the Senate in the final vote of the budget last year, made numerous derogatory comments about East Mississippi Community College, calling us an embarrassment to the state of Mississippi, for example. So that gets into a whole bunch of interesting cultural issues about why are we an embarrassment. And so I confronted him personally in the hallway, and I said, I got to know what part bothers you, the fact that we're embracing students that don't have opportunities, that need someone to give them a shot and to help provide a safety net, and then walking them to somewhere that's success. Does that embarrass you? I think that says more about you than it does me, for example, or what we do. So, but that's very controversial, that part of it.
No, it's no different than when you watch. You watch shows about Mississippi. You see Matthew McConaughey sweats all the way through a show. Like there's no air conditioning in Mississippi. He's sweating all through. You see, but last weekend I'm watching Mississippi burning. That's not an embarrassment. I watched 60 Minutes last week. I made my players sit down and watch it. I taped it. I got a copy. Well, I didn't. I got a copy of it to watch the lynching museum that was a subject of conversation on 60 Minutes. Oprah Winfrey went there. If you don't think, I constantly get on my guys. You want to get on Twitter. You don't want to stand for the national anthem. Tell me why. Be educated. You want to tweet about Kodak and freeing Kodak? Why? Because he was done wrong, or you want better music? Which one? Just be educated. If you're educated, no matter what happens, nobody will ever do you wrong. Nobody will ever take anything that is yours. And that's the underlying thing about everything. That's why I get so mad sometimes at them. That's why we're always constantly trying to push them to get better, to raise their bar. If they're educated, we do our job as football coaches and make sure they get their education, then when they leave us, they will not be able to be done wrong. And that's our crux of what we want to get accomplished is just start that educational process and help them get to the next level where they can get better support and continue that education and finish it up.
That's wonderful, Coach. Drew, could you just talk a little bit about how you captured the story. How did you hear about this? And how did you go about framing it?
Well, first of all, I mean, can you hear this? Is this working? No? Yeah. It is? Listen to these guys and you can see how easy my job was. But I had done several other stories dealing with high school football and college football, and I kept running into junior college football coaches. And we'd have these little conversations and they'd tell me stories about what goes on in this Mississippi League and how they get players and how, the circumstances behind them. And I remember asking one, I said, does this happen every day? And he said, well, not every day, And I knew there was something there. And I went on, I just sort of spent most of a week, I guess, driving to various schools, including East Mississippi. And what really came through is these guys, Buddy included, just seemed like they were, I don't know that you were anxious, but you seemed almost grateful that someone had shown up and wanted to get what you guys were doing. I mean, college football coaches around the country know exactly what you're doing. And people know that kids come from junior colleges to play at Georgia or wherever, but they really have no idea what are these towns, what are these kids, what do these coaches do? And, it really wasn't more than a second, before I knew I had something.
It's wonderful. Coach, in season 2, there was a real poignant moment where you had this moment of self-reflection after watching yourself during season 1.
Yeah.
What was going through your head? And then, from a communication standpoint, were there any lessons that really shot through for you? Or
So many you can't even see straight. For me, the season 1, and anytime somebody has a camera that follows them around, and you get to see yourself on a daily basis, and you look at it and you go, that's not the guy I really like. I don't really want to do that. I don't want to be that way. And the fight, the inner struggle for me personally was to find that place not only as a son of God that I want to be, because people don't understand. Look, I cried when Old Yeller got shot. I went and watched the movie. What was the movie I went and saw, Lauren, last week? The movie.
That's his daughter over
That's
there.
my daughter. Stand up, Lauren. That's my beautiful daughter. She's a senior here at Mississippi State University. The show was I Can Only Imagine. Cried like a baby, I know the type of person that I am inside. Also knew the type of person that I needed to be to make sure that these young men were successful. Sometimes that person is hard. Sometimes that person, you can't like them. My job is not for them to like me. My job is for me to make sure that they get to where they need to be. I sit back and I look at my relationship with my father, my mother, my dad, we didn't have the greatest relationship, but I respected him at the end. All I want our guys to do is respect us at the end. But the battle that went on inside me was finding that place that I could be. I wanted to set out in year 2 and be the Christian football coach that I knew that everybody could be, and we still could get everything accomplished, and guys would go to class and they would block who they were supposed to block, and they would be on time and they would do that, and everything would be good. But it's not always like that. And I think that's a struggle that was out there personally for me, that I don't mind sharing that struggle because it's still a daily walk for me. And it's one that I hope that, one day I will get to that point, and it will happen. Not when I'm on this earth, but it will happen. And for season 1 to season 2, I knew I needed to get better. I knew there were things that we didn't need to do, and I didn't need to be hypocritical about certain things, and I need to watch, all that. But I also from season 1 to season 2, I know we do things the right way. I know there's better ways of doing it, but I know we're making an impact on young people.
Wonderful. Dr. Tom, to pick up on Coach Buddy's comments, what did you learn, and tying it back into the new narrative concept, what did you learn through this exercise about authentic communication and brand development? What has this program meant to the brand East Mississippi Community College? You touched on that a little bit about as far as exposure, but has that translated into more students wanting to come, more faculty coming in wanting to teach, et cetera?
That's a really good question, and I think about that topic a lot. I always think the timing of it would be was difficult because, all the agreements were finalized literally the day before I think they arrived to start filming, and so we really didn't have any idea what we were walking into. And then when second season rolled around, again, that wasn't even going to be for sure that they were going to film second season until almost the last minute. So I've discovered that it's really, really difficult to identify national sponsors who want to support something in Mississippi and something in Scuba. Because it was like, well, what's in it for us? And any kind of a marketing opportunity it really becomes about numbers. And so that was a tough sell. And then locally, the struggle was, we kind of referenced this in your first question, the struggle was people had a perception of the school, quaint, not quite quaint or whatever it is you say, but this, I think about that line every time I drive on campus. This is a nice little campus, but it's not quaint. It's, but it's quaint enough. Yeah, so I think, but people have a perception, a little scuba tech or, locally, or if they have any reference to the show, it's like, well, that language of that coach is so terrible. And I'm like, did you miss the whole story? Did you miss the whole message? And I'd say, well, I know I don't like it either. He doesn't like it. But what's happening there? Tell me about the work. And so it was really difficult to kind of grasp that local as well. So it was interesting. But in terms of students, I still get inquiries daily from some high school kid in some state or some country somewhere who wants to come play football. But you may not know, and I tell people this, it's amazing. We're only allowed 8 out-of-state players. So we don't build our success on kids from other states. We build our success on kids from Mississippi. Tell them, Coach, the number of kids that played in Arizona Western.
We played for the national championship this year. Arizona Western had 66 players on their team. 59 were from outside the state of Arizona. We had 55 players on our team. At that time, only 53 were able to play. Those hurt. We only had 8 from outside the state of Mississippi. And we've done that. We did it in 2004. We won it in 2006. 2011, 13, 14, now 17. We've won with Mississippi kids. And it's not just the winning. Winning's winning. Winning's just a byproduct. Winning's a byproduct of what you've done all the whole week, the whole year, everything. It's everything put together. I think the show was a byproduct. It was a byproduct of really, I think stupidity sometimes. But, it's a byproduct of being willing to turn loose and let it go. And not everybody liked that, Not everybody liked that. And that's okay, because we could have been, right now, I think we have 40,000 something followers on our Twitter account. The closest in the state is 11, any other school. If that doesn't tell you a little something. Now, social media tears me up sometimes, but, all the time.
Why?
But it's okay. Because when I'm gone, when my time has run out, they can move on to the next deal. That's okay, and we've helped them. And we've maybe improved that brand a little bit. But I'm telling you now, I think the biggest thing for us is the control. You and I talked about this earlier. The only way they would have come was if we gave up total control.
Well, can I say something about that too? My background being in communication and having been like an egghead, which is my secret code word for professor for many years before sorry, John. before I moved over to the dark side of administration, I had a number of students who got into the industry in theater, film, et cetera, et cetera. So before I would let them on campus, I vetted them with friends